Okay, there we go. Now we're recording. All right, there we go. Okay, good. Okay, well, I know you've got a million things to do, and thanks, first of all, for doing this on short notice and with, fires and all that stuff that you got going on, plus not even to mention, studio schedule and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty
But,
crazy, but it's all
uh,
good.
all right, well, I want to talk to you about, your thoughts about Julian Bream, because you probably have a broader perspective than most, being, you're a guitarist, composer, and also instrument collector. So you're familiar with the makes of the guitar instruments that Bream used, and you kind of have that perspective too. Um, let me talk about just or ask you about some narrow stuff, and then we'll kind of
Sure.
broaden it out. Do you have a favorite Bream recording, and if so, why?
Dedicatoria. Um, he's playing that on his 73 Romaneos, which probably one of the best guitars. Matchup with him was that 73 Romaneos. There's just something about that guitar and the way that Julian played that just was magical. Um, but he sounded great. I mean, there's a recording of him doing Bach, and he does it on a Boucher, and he played a Rubio. I mean, he's Hauser. He sounds amazing on everything. But there was some kind of a cool magical marriage between that 73 Romaneos and Julian.
Yeah, and you've got a couple of those Romaneos from that same era too, correct?
Yep, and they are incredible guitars, and they are they're not a Hauser, they're not a Boucher, they're not a Santos, but they're like a combination of those guitars in a
Mhm.
very interesting, strange way.
Wow. Let's see. What is it about Bream's playing that makes it so special for you, or why do you personally enjoy it so much? What is it that makes him so special for
Um,
you?
the thing about the classical guitar, it is it is such an interesting magical box because it takes whatever inside of you, and if you can get it out into that box, it translates it into music. And he was a magician at doing that. I mean, it wasn't like he was playing the guitar. It was like you were actually hearing the way he heard the music, and it just came out of that box. Um, I would say he was just the ultimate classical musician. He understood the music incredibly, instinctually, and I get so much out of his recordings, and I still do. And I've gotten a lot of them now on vinyl because there is a difference. And sitting in a room listening to a vinyl recording of Julian Bream is like having him sitting there playing for you. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Um, this is just kind of a, I guess, hypothetical or, you know, whatever kind of question. But, sometimes when an artist passes away, if it's a performer, composer, whatever, they either kind of fade into obscurity over time or they get even larger than life. They usually don't stay as they were. For example, if it was like, 1791, you asked anybody in Vienna who's the greatest composer in the world, they'd say Ignacio Pleyel.
Right.
Now you say, over Mozart, and then now you say Ignacio Pleyel, and it's like, who's that? But everybody knows who Mozart is. What do you think? What do you think Julian Bream's legacy is going to be like, say, in 10 or 20 years now that, he's no longer with us? He hasn't been making recordings in a long while. What are your thoughts on that? How do you think he's going to be remembered? Will
I
he?
think I think the combination of the fact that he came up through the golden time of the guitar, really, which probably would be the 60s. Um, he was around before that, but um, people discovered uh, classical guitar. It seemed like in the 60s and early 70s, it was really a big deal. Um, And the music that was written for the instrument and the repertoire at that time is a very classic kind of a repertoire. It's still being played. A lot of the modern stuff that's going on right now, Sergio Assad and composers like that are writing really, really exciting music and really wonderful stuff. But I think that Julian just created like real classics out of some of that music. He was really big on convincing composers to write a piece for the guitar. And, you know, of course, the Nocturne is probably one of the most famous pieces. And I think that even though other people will play that, I don't think anybody's ever going to touch Julian's version of it. So I think he'll be remembered as one of the greatest guitar players who ever lived.
Yeah, agreed there, definitely there. Let's see. Oh, since we touched on it, just a brief aside. So how's this whole COVID quarantine affecting your work?
Well, the movie work really got, for me, got kind of upended because schedules changed and production changed and stopped, and things that were supposed to be happening right now aren't happening right now. So in that regard, it sort of backed everything up. Now I've got stuff coming down the pipeline, and now it's starting to move again, which is great. But I have to say that because everything stopped, at least for me, I started to really study more classical guitar and studying with Mark Teicholz and working on a lot of pieces and technique. And so it's been really actually really good for my musicianship, bad for the health of a lot of people, but my musicianship got better. So
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I seem to see people that were like either totally devastated by it, and other people, it's like, man, this has been one of the best times of my life. And
yeah,
the latter case has been definitely that way for me. I've gotten, so much done and upended a lot of, a lot of things, life in general, habits and everything. Um, so
well,
yeah,
when you tell a musician, listen, you need to stay in your room and not be around a lot of people. I mean, that's almost a gift, right?
right.
I think Ty Schultz told me, he said he thought that classical guitar was the perfect COVID instrument, because, you're supposed to be by yourself and practice, right? So,
Right.
yeah,
Like this is a bad thing because why?
right, right.
Right. Well, also the Broadway stuff completely shut down.
Yeah,
It's got to be a bad thing.
it is. And, I was going to be in Paris in August, right now, actually, opening a brand new company. I think it would have been the 10th or 11th company running, almost every night. But we were going to open in Paris, and I was really excited about that. And so,
For Lion King.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's been moved, I think, till sometime next year. So yeah, I mean, everybody got upended, and I can't even imagine for those actors and the musicians and all the stagehands, how interrupted their lives are. It's got to be really rough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I was supposed to be starting to film this Martha Ghost Stories, and then like, a bunch of stuff happened, and it's like, okay, we got to postpone it. We were supposed to start in March, and
Yeah,
then like we had a whole bunch of problems. I said, let's put it off till August. And then I was thinking, man, this is the worst thing ever. And then the whole COVID thing hit about mid-March. And I was like so grateful. It's like, wow, a classic case of what seems to be a setback actually saved your neck.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
because I know so many film companies and productions that got shut down and bankrupted because they'd already paid deposits on things and
right.
actors and everything. And now, they've got, nothing to show for it, but they've already made all that, spent
Yeah,
those expenses.
that's really a drag.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to Bring. Now you're a guitarist, and you have a lot of early music instruments there in your studio. Do you play very much lute yourself?
No, I gave that a go, and it's weird. I never understood with Julian how he's self-taught. So I mean, he pretty much taught himself the lute and pretty much taught himself guitar. He had some teachers, but He took 2 lessons with Segovia, but he somehow, the lute and the vihuela just came to him. He could play them. He just could play them and play them well, you know. He used to do his concerts. He would do the first half on the lute, the second half on the classical guitar. That's just mind-boggling to me. Most people that play the lute don't play classical guitar, or vice versa. But no, I've tried those things, but they're tricky. You know, they're all in courses, you know, with multiple strings and all that stuff, and the tuning is different. It's like, no, it's way too complicated for me. Forget it. Too much work.
Yeah, any of those instruments is enough for one lifetime, let alone,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
doing several. Let's see. Well, what about in your own composing? Has there been any, can you detect in yourself like any changes from hearing, like, say, some of the pieces that Bream commissioned and recorded that's maybe informed your own composition, do you think?
You know, I would say it's more to do with the way that Bream has influenced me, besides the guitar. I mean, obviously when I play guitar, I think about him. I think about all of his tone colors and all of the, you know, the way that he played. And I try to, in my own stupid way, try to emulate that at times. But what I think is amazing about Julian was that he went for it. He was a risk taker. He was not someone who was careful. You know, he didn't go on stage and, you know, be very careful about squeaks and this and that. And he just went for it. You know, he went for the music. Music first. Who cares if you flub it? It doesn't matter. It's got to have passion. It's got to have fire. You know, it's got to, you know. And when you watch those master classes of him teaching, you can see it, because when he plays for the class, it's like, oh, you're playing music and they're playing the guitar. You know, it's an incredible thing. And that I think about that when I play, even though I flub it. I just think, you know what, who cares? I mean, you know, just go for it and play as best you can, you know. And that's something that I really cherish about Julian Bream. You know, Jason Vio wrote a really good article. Did you read that? I think it was out. He wrote it a couple weeks ago. I think a couple weeks ago. And I just read it the other day. It's fantastic about Julian. And one of the things he says that I totally agree with is, not only was Julian the most amazing classical musician to listen to or to see, Jason saw him a few times, but you want to go have a beer with the guy. You want to have a couple beers with him, you know? He's that kind of guy, you know? And he, you know, I read his book all the time. He's got a book called A Life on the Road. And he's so funny, you know, with his cigarettes are called Tubes of Joy. That's what he calls them. And he, you know, he's in Italy and he'll go, do you want to go for the old spag bowls and linctus, which is spaghetti bolognese and a drink, right? So, you know, he has all these little phrases and really funny stuff. He's got a great sense of humor and passion, and you can tell when he sits down with a piece of music, he instinctually knows what it should be about somehow. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, what I know we have to sign off here real quickly, but what can we look forward to hearing from you project-wise? What do you have coming up? Oh, what about the guitar concerto? I was at the premiere. Is that going to be commercially recorded or released anytime soon?
So the latest was that the Monterey Symphony was going to do their 75th anniversary is next spring, and they were going to do half the concert of my music, and so we were going to include that guitar suite and then also do some of my film score music, and it was going to be really exciting, really fun. And of course that got canceled and moved a year further, because they canceled the Bach Festival this year too, of course. It would be going on right now, I think. So all of that stuff has been moved later. And I'd love to record it with Jason. It would be really, really fun. So Jason is playing a concert of music that he's written, and I'm really eager to hear that, because he hasn't really written anything before, but he's written, I think, 2 or 3 new pieces. So he's debuting that. The other projects that I'm in line to do are not, what they're doing right now, it's really kind of a strange thing, but there's so much thieving that goes on in Hollywood and with movies and projects and all this stuff, that they're taking usually the names of things and they're not calling the name of it what it is.
For instance?
Well, I can't remember. I was just going to tell you what it was called. The Lion King film last year was called something. It wasn't called The Lion King. It was called like Truth or something, and it was like, what is that, But it was like this code name that, so the things that I'm in line to do, I can't really talk about yet because they haven't been established with titles.
Right. Well, I understand it's like high stakes stuff, so.
Well, it's also just that everything's so weird right now that, they don't, if they say, well, something's starting next month, it might actually not be starting for a couple months. So, but it's all good stuff, and exciting. And in the meantime, I'm working with Mark on quite a few pieces, and I'm just really enjoying the guitar,
Cool.
Yeah.
We need to play some more duets after the crazy.
I tell you, man, it's ridiculous. It's been a long time. We got to do that.
Yeah, well, let's do it. All right, sir. Well, I guess I need to sign off here, and I know you're super.
All right.
But thanks for doing this, and this was cool to do a.
Yeah. Good seeing you.
Zoom interview, and I've got the audio, and I know people maybe as an extra feature, I'll put the the edited video and audio, and that way people can see you and see what the inside of your studio looks like and all that. And
well, at least part of it.
Yeah, part of it. Well, I can see 3 guitar cases back there.
Yep. Oh yeah, those are nice too.
All right, what do you got in those?
You want to know, really? You really want to know?
Yeah.
It's my 3 best guitars.
Oh yeah.
So it's a 78 Romaneos. That's a 61 Boucher, and that's a 49 Hauser 1.
49 Hauser 1?
Yeah.
Wow, can you open it up and show it? Just like
the Hauser?
Yeah. Well,
It's probably, I would say, it's one of the top 3 Hausers I've ever played.
Nice.
Yeah. I had 2 others and I sold them both when I got this one. I was out of tune.
It is? I can't tell. No, just kidding.
But he's you can't tell over Zoom, but this is my absolute best guitar. It records, you can hear it just buzzing right now. It records unbelievably. It's a little bit harder to play than my Romaneos and my Boucher. It's just a little, it's the German thing. It's a little bit stiffer to play, but it records unbelievably.
Yeah.
And nobody's really played this very much because I got this and for about a year, and then COVID hit and nobody's been around. So I'm the only one that's playing it because I'd love to hear Mark or Kanegeiser or, any of those guys play this.
Awesome.
Anyway.
Well, thank you, Maestro. Appreciate it. And
all right.
Good luck on everything. And I hope the fires don't get any closer than they have been.
I think we're out of the woods at least right now anyway. So.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll sign off here. Any final thing you want to mention or thoughts about Bream or?
I just, as you know, he's my hero. And I have a friend of mine who lives in Spain did a painting, a portrait of Julian, and he didn't want to take a photograph and just copy it. He wanted to just actually look at different photographs and it's a beautiful painting. I have it right next to my bed, and it's inspiration for me. So what else can you say about somebody, but that they're right next to you,
Yeah.
So.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Talk to you. Yeah. Take care. See you soon. Bye.